was in my first year of college, living in the dormitory and trying to navigate my way through this new phase of my life. The first exam period was approaching, and I was starting to feel the pressure. The night before the first day of tests, I was in my room trying to go over my notes when I heard a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I was a bit surprised when I opened the door and saw a young girl standing there.
"Hi, I'm Helen,"
she said, introducing herself.
"I'm in the same class as you."
I was a bit taken aback, but I introduced myself and invited her in. She seemed nice enough, and we chatted for a while about the upcoming exams. Then, out of nowhere, she asked me for my book, so she could make some copies to study for the next day's test. I hesitated for a moment, but then I decided to lend her the book. I figured it was the least I could do to help her out. After some time, she returned the book, thanked me, and left. A few days passed, and the second day of tests was approaching. Once again, the night before the test, I heard a knock on my door, and it was Helen again. She asked for my book once more, so she could make some copies for the next day's test. I was happy to help, so I gave her the book again, and just like before, after some time, she returned it to me. This continued to happen almost every night before each test day. Helen would knock on my door, ask for my book, and I would lend it to her. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just assumed that she was a bit disorganized and needed some help studying. Finally, the exams were finished and the results were out. I went to check and see if I had passed and what my score was. I quickly found my name. I was successful and with a good score. So Helen came to mind, and I tried to find her name and check how she did in case I saw her again. As I scanned the list of names, I couldn't find Helen's name no matter how much I searched for it. It simply wasn't there, and I was confused. Who was that girl? Later that day, I described the whole story to my friends in the local cafeteria and asked if anyone knew Helen. That was when a girl, Mary, from a group sitting next to us overheard Helen's name and intervened.
"I knew Helen,"
Mary said,
"but I'm afraid it's impossible for you to see or speak to her. You see, Helen is dead."
I was shocked and confused, but I asked for more details. Mary obliged and told me that Helen was a very good student but came from a very poor family. She wanted only to study and finish college with good grades so that she could quickly find a good job and help her parents, who were having big financial difficulties. She also had a dog that she found, and it was her only companion through her studies. A few days before the first exam period, her dog ate a few pages from her books, and she got anxious. She tried to find those pages by asking other students, but as she was only focused on her studies, she didn't have any friends, and nobody wanted to help her. Everyone thought that she was creepy, as she was wandering through the dormitory at nights, knocking on doors and asking for books to make copies, so nobody wanted to help. Unfortunately, in every test, the questions were mostly from the missing pages. And when the exams were finished and the results came out, she failed in all the tests. She couldn't cope with the idea of facing her parents and telling them that she failed, so she decided to take her life. I was frozen in fear as Mary was telling me Helen's story. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Was it a dream? Was it real? Or was it something else entirely? Few hours passed, and as I spent the whole day with my friends, I forgot all about Helen's story. Tired and dizzy, I returned to my dorm at night and decided to play some video games before I go to sleep. That was when I heard the knock again and everything came back to me. My mind was racing with all sorts of thoughts and emotions. Fear, panic, confusion, and disbelief were all swirling around inside me. But there was a small glimmer of hope. A tiny voice in the back of my mind that whispered, maybe it's not her. Maybe it's just a prank. Maybe it's something else. The knock continued, so I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to answer the door. So with trembling hands, I walked towards the door, and with a shaky voice, almost like a whisper, I asked, "Who is it?"